Hi, in this video I will recreate this beautiful app prototype made by Ricardo Busato. I will leave his Instagram in the description so you can see all of his work, and let's begin. Welcome to this video. We're gonna recreate the Coca Cola prototype app. So first we're gonna do the slider, and the first step is going to animate the rotation of the cans when they got scroll or swipe, whatever you want to call that. And we're gonna use ScrollView, the animated API, and dimensions to get the width and the height of the screen. We're gonna create first a scroll animated value, scroll animation we're gonna call it. It's gonna be an animated value. We're gonna set it to zero, I'm sorry. And okay, now we're gonna create the scroll view. We're gonna make it horizontal. We're gonna name paging. We're gonna hide the horizontal scroll bar, and for now that's enough. Now we're gonna put the cans inside the scroll view. We're gonna put each can inside a panel container. We're gonna call the style item container, and we're gonna put the can inside. The resize mode of the image is going to be contained, so you can see all the can and it doesn't get cropped. And we're gonna add a style to this. It's gonna be called item. We're gonna create the styles. Item container first. The width and the height is going to be the same width and height of the screen, and we're gonna center the child components. The item style, we're just gonna set a width and height in percentage. You can set it to whatever you like it more. You can play with it. I'm just gonna pass these values, and I didn't add a source. That's why the error. The assets, I'm gonna put it in the repo. If you want to look for it, it's gonna be in the assets folder, and we're gonna look for a can and the regular one. So now we have a can in the scroll view, but it's just one. We're gonna add a couple more. We now got 3. Now we're gonna animate it. We're gonna use on scroll. Well, first of all, scroll event throttle, we're gonna set it to 16, and on scroll we're gonna pass an animated event. But first we need to use animated in the scroll view so it can work the animated event in the scroll. So we animated event, and we're gonna use the content offset of the x-axis, and we're gonna set it to the scroll animation value. There's something wrong. Yeah, okay, now it's done. and we're gonna pass to the optional object. We're gonna use native driver. I'm gonna set it true, and now we're going to apply a style to the. We're gonna use the interpolate to rotate the cans, and for the first can we're gonna create rotate one value, and we're gonna use scroll animation, and we're gonna interpolate it from 0 to width, and the output range is going to be from 0 degrees to 20 degrees, and we're gonna extrapolate to clamp, and we're gonna add it to the style of the first item. Transform, rotate, and we set to rotate one the value. So when we scroll, it doesn't work. Let me see why. It's not working. Why isn't it working? Offset, I misspelled offset. So now it works. We're gonna set it to 20. Now it works. We're gonna add to the second and third item. We're gonna add, but this time it's going to be with and 0. So it's going to be like that, and we're gonna add the style to transform. No, it was this one. So now then we add to the third one. We're just going to be, the first one is going to be width, the second one width 2 times width, and the third one 3 times width, the width. But I didn't add it to the styles. Okay, it's working now. So that's basically the animation to rotate the cans. But if you're gonna add more, it gets messy, and you have to add another rotate and another rotate and another item. So we're gonna create another component that is gonna be called items. I'm gonna pass props, and once you return, we're going to return all the items here. We're going to map it from an array, so we're just going to need one, and we're going to create an array. I'm going to pause here while I create the array. So we now have the array of the items array, and it contains objects, which are the items, and the object properties are the background, the item image, and the logo. So right now we're gonna just use the item image, and we're gonna use it here. We're gonna use the props. So now we have the props, and we're gonna map the items array. We're gonna use the item and the index. So we're gonna return the item component. We're going to set here the animations, the interpolation of the animation, and we're just gonna set the name to rotate. But first we're gonna set input range. So if it's the first item, we're just gonna use two input values. It's going to be 0 and width. And if it's not the first one, we're gonna use 3 values. There is going to be width by the index -1. It's going to be the width by the index, and width by the index +1. Okay, I got this. The output range is going to be the same. If it's the first item, we're just going to use 2 output range values. That is going to be 0 degrees and 20 degrees. And if it's not the first item, we're going to use 3 values, output range values. There is going to be -20 degrees, 0 degrees, and 20 degrees. And we're gonna set it the commas. I didn't use commas, so now we can test this, and it's working with 4 items. We need to use a key here. For now, we're just gonna use the index, so it's working. But we're gonna set the source to the item, and how do we call it? Item image. I remember, yes, item image. So now we got different cans. I put a background here. background. Alright. So it should work now. So now it worked, the first animation. Now the next step is to animate the background, and well, we're gonna delete this so it looks cleaner, and you get, and it's right now it's dynamic. If you add more items, you get more items and are animated. Okay, so now we have to animate the background, so let's delete the background of the container, of the app container. And an easy way to animate the background will be, first we're gonna set this to false to use, so we can interpolate the background. An easy way will be this, to background color, scroll animation, interpolate, input range 0 width, two times width, not and we set values here of colors, red, well, not red, not yellow, purple, blue, and green. So we can add this to the style of the scroll view, and it's gonna work really amazing, as easy as that. But the thing here with the app is that it's using graphics and it's using gradients. So if you can use gradients with React Native with linear gradient library, but in this case we're gonna use image, because there's also another image that are not gradient. So we can do this. We can animate this to do this, because animated scroll view doesn't have an image background. So what are we going to do for this case is we're gonna put a parent container, and in the parent container we're gonna put all the child components one on top of the another. So it looks like this is on top, and behind him are all these in order. So if you look at this is like a side view. If you look at in the front view, it looks like this. So we're gonna animate the opacity. So when we animate the opacity, it transitions really cool to the color who is next. And we take that color and do the same. It does the same. We're just animating the opacity of the component who is on top. So as we can see here, if you have tried to animate a linear gradient to transform into another linear gradient in web development or in React Native or whatever, the easiest way is to put two divs, one on top of another, and just animate the opacity of the one in the top. As we can see here, it looks really amazing. It's just a simple animation of the opacity, but it looks so good, as we can see here, and as we can see with the color. We're just animating the opacity. We are not doing nothing amazing. We just are setting the opacity of the top component to 0, and it transitions really amazing to to the background or color or image who is on bottom. So we're gonna do this, and we're gonna create a component. Let me do like this. A component which is going to be the main component. We are gonna be where all the backgrounds are gonna be included. So we're gonna call this bg container, and we're gonna put this the backgrounds. Well, for now, like this. Let's set the styles, and we're gonna set this position to be relative, so we can set this to be absolute. It's going to be the same width and height of the screen, and that's all. And the background is going to be 100%, and the height is going to be 100% too. But it's going to be, the background is going to be an image. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a an animated component. So we're gonna create a so you create it like this, an animated component. We're gonna create an image background component. We're gonna call it background image. So we're gonna set it here. The resize mode is going to be cover, and the source, for now we're gonna set it to background red. We're gonna put on just two for the demonstration. Background. Okay. So this position is going to be also absolute. So we got it there. And the Z index of this is going to be 1, not 2, I'm sorry. And this Z index is going to be 1. So now we're going to animate it. The opacity 1. it's going to be from 1 opacity to 0 opacity. So the transition looks really amazing, and it's just simple. We're just animating the opacity of the component, so it's pretty amazing how easy it looks. And well, it's simpler, and it looks really great. Now we're gonna set that. But again, if we have a lot of components, it's gonna get messy. So we're gonna do the same. We're gonna create a component called backgrounds. We're just gonna need to copy one. Okay, now we're going to map the items array again, and we are going to use the item and the index, and we're going to return sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm sorry, my first video. I'm sorry, I hope you like it. Okay, so I'll continue, and we're gonna do the animation of the opacity. We're gonna do the same. We're gonna call it opacity, and we're gonna create the input range and the output range arrays. So now this is all are going to be the same. So it's going to be width. It's not an object property. Index and index plus 1. Output range is going to be from 1 to 0. From 1 to 0. And we're gonna set this opacity just like that. And well, we're gonna pass scroll animation and the items. So now it doesn't work because the scene index are just, all of them are in one. So just what we're going to do is to create a dynamic C index that is going to be, if it's the first one, it's going to be, okay, items dot length minus the index plus the index. No. Oh, I know. it's this what it's happening. All are the same, and we're gonna set to item background. So now it's different. It's minus. So the first one is 4, the C index is 4, so this one is 4. The next one is 3, the next one is 2, and the next one is on the bottom. So we got a pretty nice animation. Look how good it looks. And now we're going to add the logo. We're just gonna add it right inside here. We're gonna change a little bit of the background style. We're gonna just align the items to the center and justify 2 and a padding in the top of 120. Why is that happening? Well, better. Okay. We're gonna add that to the logo style. So we're gonna put the logo in a padding container. It's going to be a logo container and the logo image. It's going to be, the style is going to be called logo. The resize mode is going to be contain, so it doesn't get cropped. And the source is going to be item logo. And we're gonna set this logo container with 100%, and the margin top is going to be 120, and logo is going to be with 60%. And the height will be, I don't know, 90. Okay, it's there. Let me put it on top. Oh, I centered it. That's why it's there. But we're gonna put it on top. All these two. This is gonna be center. Nice. I think it's too much of a margin top. So now it looks great. So now the logo has the same opacity transition as the background, so it looks cool. But now we're gonna add how it's going to scale when swiping to the left or to the right. So I got a little bit sample here. So this is the logo that is on top, and when we start scrolling to the left, the opacity of that logo gets lower and lower until 0, and the logo behind it gets the opacity, well, it's still in value 1, but because of the transition of the opacity, it looks like it's in the same opacity of 0.5, let's say. But also at the same time, the logo it's going to be scaling and making himself, smaller, so it looks like it's going to the bottom and it's coming back as the new logo. I don't know if I explain myself here. So we got the logo like here, we got it here, start the opacity, and both of them are scaling from 1 to 0, this one, and this one who was behind is scaling from 0 to 1, so it looks like it came to the top. And we're gonna start it and input range of the logo is gonna be let me think. So we do this, it's on 1 and the other one is on 0, so we're gonna use index here. So if it's the first one, we're going to go, the input range is going to be 0 to width, and if it's not the first one, it's the second, third one, it's going to, if it's greater than 0, we're going to go from width index -1 with index and with and index +1. So the output range logo is going to be from 1 to 0, and here, oh my god, and here is going to be from 0 to 1 to 0. So about this logo, this one we're going to talk about how it works. So it goes, right now is in 1, and the value of the input range right now is width by the index of it. So right now the scale has to go to 0. So the coffee logo right now is 0. When I start scrolling, goes to 1, and when I scrolling again to the left, it has to go to 0. So that's how it's working, and we're gonna put it on scale. We're gonna interpolate this. Now we're gonna add to the logo where it is. We're gonna add transform, scale, okay, this has to be inside an array. So now if you scroll it slowly, it doesn't look that cool, but if you do it, you swipe to the left or right, it looks amazing. That's all for this video. I don't want to make it really long, so I'm gonna split all the animations into parts. In the next part we'll be doing the details component and the swipeable screen. And if you like, subscribe, share, and hit the like button. I will be doing a course in React Native animations, in React for the web, more tutorials, more animations, and also MySQL and Node.js, PHP, subscribe and share. Thank you.